This is Getting On With Life, Biblical Wisdom for Successful Christian Living. And this lesson is Trapped by the Mask. I recently assisted someone who needed help. They were not well, but did not want people to know that. There was an image they liked to project to others, and they struggled to keep up that image while their health waned. That reminded me of times when I did the same thing, afraid of people thinking less of me than I wanted them to. As a child, I decided I wanted people to like and respect me and think of me as a top performer. However, that mask meant I had to keep up an image that was fake. The mask became a trap for me. I could impress my young friends, since they were young and gullible, but there were many others who were not so easily fooled. They might ask me questions or want me to prove that what I was projecting about myself had substance. I spent most of my teenage years struggling to put on a good impression and appear above average. That led to many silly situations. More importantly, it trapped me. I was trapped by the mask. I couldn't let down my guard or just be my boring, ordinary self, but had to keep performing to the image I wanted others to believe. I realized the same thing happens when people use various props to support an image of who they are. Those who want to keep up with the latest fashion or who like to use makeup to look their best can find themselves trapped by the mask. They might find they avoid meeting people when they don't have their most fashionable clothes available for fear of being looked down on. They aren't free to just be themselves and let others see them in out-of-fashion clothes. The same for people who rely on makeup or who insist on having their hair or presentation exactly as they want it. They become a slave to that. A friend once told me how he, as a man in his 50s, visited his mother unexpectedly. One morning he had to see a client not far from where he grew up and decided to drop in and surprise his mum. He knocked on the door and his mum did not open but called, "Who is it?" He told her he was there to have a quick visit. She told him to wait a while. He stood on the doorstep for a long while, waiting. She finally let him in and made him a drink. He asked why she left him on the doorstep for so long, and she replied, "I can't let anyone see me until I put my face on." She needed to put on her makeup. He was shocked and concerned for his mum that she couldn't just be herself with her own son. She was trapped by the mask. The person I was assisting recently, who had been trying not to look unwell, finally needed my help to get down some stairs. The experience was terribly humbling for them, as they wanted to be strong and independent, and to look like they were always in control of things, and yet they needed help to do something simple. At the same time, it was lovely for them to find they were cared for, not because of the image they tried to project, but just for who they really are. I think there was some release for them that day, as the trapping effect of their image crumbled. I wonder what it would take so you could abandon the masks that hold you captive. Can you just be yourself without fear of what others might think? Can you let people see you when you aren't looking your best or putting your best foot forward? Being humbled in some way is painful, yet it is also freeing, as it strips away the false front we put up of being somehow bulletproof or wonderfully capable. Mind you, there is nothing wrong with being strong, resilient, and unflappable. If that's who you are, then you don't have to pretend otherwise. The problem is more for those who want to appear to be something they are not, trying to hide their weaknesses. That's where pride grabs hold of us and traps us in its grip. When we are trapped by the mask, we are actually enslaved by pride and by fear. We fear being thought little of, and that arouses our pride. We then start looking for ways to hide our weaknesses and faults, and we crawl into a trap that will likely hold us captive for the rest of our lives. In my case, God challenged me that I was fake. He kept prompting me to acknowledge that I was lying to people about who I was. It seemed to take a long time for God to get through to me that I was not helped by keeping up a false image. God finally got through to me by prompting me with a sense of God saying, I can only deal with real people. God prompted me that if I kept up my fake, plastic image of myself, then God could not work with me and help me grow. I would live the rest of my life as a fake. But if I tore down that fake plastic image of myself, removing the mask, God would deal with me as the real person I was deep on the inside, then heal and nourish the weak and broken real me until I was far more impressive than my fake image. And all that people saw in me would be absolutely real. That led me to being real with God, then being real with others, and pulling down the fake impression I like to keep up. I learned to admit my limitations, mistakes, and foibles, and as I did, I found myself relating with people at a much richer level, because it was real, not shallow and fake. I'm so thankful I did not spend the rest of my life trapped by the mask I'd put on in my ignorant, childish years. Yet I meet people who remind me of my plastic image days. I feel for them as I see them play a game that is only robbing them of the freedom Christ died to give them. If you are trapped by keeping up an image or reputation, being house-proud, trying to look clever or talented, above average or wise, then realize that is a trap. There is no prize for playing that game, only loss of freedom and life's real joys and achievements. Bring yourself to God and admit that you are slave to your image or vows or whatever it is that is your mask. Take the mask off as you talk with God and decide to never put it back on again. Die to the foolish idea that pretending is somehow like reality. It's the very opposite. Let God heal you and restore you and lead you to become a wonderfully real person who is blessed and a blessing to others. Claim the freedom Christ gives and live in the truth that sets you free. And may you never again find yourself trapped by the mask. God bless you.